Hello and welcome to the CEI, Guardian, and Hong Fu community. This is the first video of CEI Rehab's Balance series. In this introduction, I will provide a brief explanation of how balance works, as well as some tips for setting up your environment to practice safely, before we will move into some seated warm-up, as well as standing balance exercises. So how does balance work? Well, in terms of physics, balance is achieved when an object is able to keep its mass within its base of support. So humans accomplish this by coordinating incoming sensory information with our outgoing motor strategies in order to keep our mass within our base of support. Now, if we're sitting, that base of support is our feet in contact with the floor, as well as anything that's touching the chair. So that could even include my back. As you move into standing, all you have are your feet, as well as any type of assistive device that you might be using, which is part of why we recommend them so much in rehab. So that coordination between sensory information coming in and motor responses going out reveals that balance is a skill, which is really important because that means we can improve it with practice. Now, balance being a skill also means that if we're not moving around, that coordination can become rusty. And so I do encourage frequent balance practice. And if we're talking about balance, we also have to address falls. So falls are very common, but they are not unavoidable. Typically, what we call multifactorial, which means that several factors had to align in order to create that fall in that situation. So some common contributing factors are things like dehydration, vitamin deficiencies, interactions or complications from medications, concurrent infections such as UTI or flu can also impact our balance, as well as things like visual deficits, cognitive deficits, or improper footwear. So, talking about footwear, when you practice your balance, I would recommend wearing some shoes that fit closely around the foot while also providing good grip. Now, of course, if you typically wear specialized shoes, such as diabetic or orthopedic shoes, any type of prosthetic, please continue using your regular footwear. And no, slippers are not a good option because it's right there in the name, slip. So please do not practice your balance in your slippers. You want something that's going to provide some good grip to the floor as well as holding snugly onto your foot. All right. So before you begin any type of balance practice, you also want to set up your environment. So make sure you have a clear open space as well as a sturdy chair to place behind you. No wheels, so something that won't scoot away from you. You may find that a dining chair alongside the table provides a nice steady place to practice, or you can use a standard walker or a rollator with the brakes on. Anything that's going to provide you something steady that you can check in with your hands as you're practicing your balance. If you'd like, you can pause the video here to set up your environment. Otherwise, we'll move into a seated warm-up. Focusing on the feet and ankles as they are our primary balance reaction, and then the upper trunk as our posture will be very important for weight distribution, we'll begin with toe raises and heel raises. Lifting the toes and then raising the heels. At a smooth, controlled pace, loosening up the ankles and warming up the muscles that will help us maintain our balance. A few more. Very nice. Moving on to ankle circles, pick a leg and make nice, big circles, changing directions. You may hear some little snap crackles, little Rice Krispies in the joint. As long as it doesn't cause pain, it's okay. Changing directions. And down. Moving on to the shoulders, you'll raise them to the front, up to the ears, and then lowering them down and back. Up and to the front, down and to the back. Two more, and then we'll change directions. Other way, up and to the back, down and to the front. and then moving on to the neck. Go ahead and lower your right ear to the right shoulder, feeling a gentle pull down the other side of the neck, keeping the nose pointed forward. When you stretch, you want to hold for 30 seconds, which is longer than you think. Returning to the middle and going to the other side. If your stretch feels painful, you're probably pulling a little too hard. You want to stop at what's called pleasantly uncomfortable, or about a light to moderate stretch, and return to the middle. If it hurts, you're pushing too hard. Just ease up a little bit. Then you're going to start turning the head, looking over each shoulder, moving at a slow, comfortable speed. If you get dizzy, just stop and return to the middle. Our last warm-up will be a modified cat-cow, working at limbering up the trunk. So first, sink back in your hips, pressing the belly back, chin down to chest. Then rise up, belly comes forward, breastbone rises to the ceiling. Be careful not to crank too much on the neck. It's more about what's happening in between your shoulders and your hips. So rounding back, chin to chest, rising up, belly forward, breastbone to the ceiling, and sink back. Moving through whatever range is comfortable for you. Exploring any areas of stiffness. It's just your body talking to you. One last one. And return to the center. Now that we've warmed up in sitting, we'll transition into standing. Please ensure that you have a sturdy chair to go behind you, as well as a readily available arm support, and we'll begin standing balance exercise. Now that you've joined me in standing, please place your feet at a comfortable hip width apart, checking that you're not touching the chair behind you for your safe landing zone, and that your arm support is readily available so that you can check in with your balance as we go. Okay, feet underneath the hips. We're going to start off by seeing where your balance is beginning today with a little pre-test. So standing up as tall as possible, looking straight ahead. Go ahead and float the hands off the walker, possibly counting to see how many seconds you're able to hold, and bringing the hands down whenever you feel ready. Now you're going to hear me say the phrase as tall as possible frequently. Now for a variety of reasons, our posture can change over time. So doing whatever is available to you is really what I would suggest. The farther forward that your head gets in front of you, the harder the muscles in your back have to work in order to support it. So, thinking about physics, if you are able to stack the shoulders over the hips, it reduces the amount of muscular effort that your low back has to supply, while shifting some of that effort into the hip extensors, which are the glutes, larger muscles, and it's easier for them to kind of pick up some more of the work to help support that upright posture. So this will make it easier for your muscles from the perspective of the physics involved. But if for some reason you're not able to stack the hips over the shoulders, please just do whatever is available for you. Okay. So as we check in, bring the feet to a comfortable hip width, standing up tall, floating the hands to check in with your balance. Do you notice that you sway more in one direction than any other? Now, hands down. For most of us, that will be to the back. We tend to drift backwards, and unfortunately, that is the direction where we have the least ability to correct our balance. So we're going to start with an exercise designed to increase our sensory inputs from the feet in order to help us center our body weight. So feet at a comfortable hip width, standing up as tall as possible. Hands are on your walker or whatever support surface you're using. You're going to shift forward and backwards, staying as tall as possible. What you want to pay attention to is where you feel more pressure in your feet. As you shift forward, it will be the balls of the foot and the toe. As you shift back, it'll be the heels. Shifting forward and back. And you may notice, like I do, if I get too close to the back, my toes start to lift. That's my body telling me I'm reaching the limits of my stability and that I need to come back in. So go ahead and play with this as long as you'd like, exploring where you feel your body weight with the goal to center that body weight, not in the toes, not in the heels, but in the midfoot, so that when you take your hands off the walker, there's not that much sway. Your body weight, your mass, is centered over your base of support. And now the closer together your feet are, the more challenging that will be because the base of support is smaller. So if this is too hard, just widen your stance a little bit. And if it feels too easy, go ahead and narrow. All right, moving on to another of the sensory systems, we'll go with our vestibular system, which is the inner ear. So feet at a comfortable width, hands are on the walker. You want to turn your head side to side. The faster you go, the more challenging it will be, so proceed at a pace that's comfortable. And ideally, you float the hands off the walker, maintaining your balance as you do so, checking in as needed. And again, the faster you move your head, the more challenging it will be. And of course, if you get dizzy, hands down, take a rest. If at any point you want to take a seated rest, feel free to stop the video, take a pause, and rejoin when you feel ready. Otherwise, we will move on to the visual system. So feet at a comfortable distance, standing up, looking straight ahead. This one's pretty straightforward. We're just going to close the eyes. Now, this is often the most challenging variety. As you can see, even I have more sway when I take away my vision. And check in with your hands as needed so that you know your support system is here. Continue breathing comfortably. Try not to hold your breath. Paying attention to where you feel your body weight. Checking in with your support as needed. And opening your eyes when you're ready. All right. Let's do a post test so that we can compare how your balance is doing now that we've practiced as compared with at the beginning when we started. So please take your feet back to the width where they started, standing up as tall as possible, looking straight ahead, eyes open please, and float the hands. See if you can count. Can you maybe count a few more than you did before? And placing the hands back down whenever you feel ready. So there are many ways to practice your balance. Hopefully you've enjoyed refining your sensory integration and balance today, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much.